Hello, everyone. My name is Garrett Wilson, and I am I just got my bachelor's degree in history. That's my major. My minor is philosophy, and I mean, basically, I'm doing this because I'm looking for a job, and uh, okay, I need the money. So, well, I don't really need the money, but I'd like a little bit of money. Um, so this is going to be my first YouTube video. And what these are going to be, uh, basically me just going through my past history papers that I did during you know, while I was getting my associates, was getting my bachelor's, um, and commenting on them because they're mine. So there's like no copyright. Um, I don't know. Maybe some of you will find them interesting. Maybe a few people will find them interesting. Probably most people will think they're boring. So, and irrelevant. But, if they can gain me a little bit of money and a few people enjoy them, uh, that's fine. And I will be trying to do these every day, besides weekends. And the production quality is going to be very low because it's literally just my laptop. So no fancy uh recording gear or anything like that. So the production quality is going to be terrible. So letting people know that. So yes, any of you happen to like them, um, you know, please like and subscribe. And I will be doing this at least until I get a job, and then probably when I get a job when I can do them, I will, and that might mean just on the weekends. So, but for now, it's 5 days a week, and I won't be reviewing all of the paper per day. I think depending on the length of the paper, it will be uh like 1 page of paper or 2 pages. Um, you know. Also, depending on the time, I don't know. Uh, so yes, please like, comment, and subscribe. So, my first paper, and I just chose this paper because, well, I don't know if it's my best, but it's a paper I like. Um, so we have how Wonder Woman got her groove back, and this was done broadly for my history research class at Ferris, and the class was actually interesting, and I would urge people who have um are doing history to do a class like this. And what this class basically does is it prepares you for going into the history field, uh, particularly academia, but not necessarily so. And this is good because a lot of history classes, at least according to Professor Tracy Bush, they don't have this when she was in school. Now that was like 20 years ago, so things may have changed. But at the very least, when she was in school, they didn't have like a history class that prepares you for going into academia. And for that, we had to write like a 15 to over 15 page paper that could, with some modifications, conceivably be published in academic journal. Um, Now, and I'm not saying that this paper could be published in academic journal. I'm probably that's not true for all of my papers. But nonetheless, if I wanted to, I could make some changes and get it published. Um, so yeah, that's just the date, that's the teacher, whatever. So the title of the paper is How Wonder Woman Got Her Groove Back. And now you may be asking yourself, why Wonder Woman? And The answer to that is because I like Wonder Woman as a character. And also because I was taking a different class the semester before. It was a class on American popular history, taught by Professor Gary Huey of Ferris. And in that, he had a section on comics. And in that, he mentioned the comic Wonder Woman. And he mentioned how Wonder Woman, of course, had her powers when she was created, but in the early 60s, lost them. And then that was this huge thing with the feminist movement, which emerged in the 70s, and Wonder Woman got her powers back. So that is what the paper is about. It's also looking at Wonder Woman and her history from the 1940s into the 1980s through a feminist lens. If those of you who don't like feminism, well, I mean, I'm sympathetic to feminism. I wouldn't call myself a feminist, but I'm sympathetic. So this paper and at least a few others is going to do with feminism. Um, yes. Sorry about the ums to this. There's just gonna be a lot of them. Okay, that's just how this is, and I tend to go on rants. So, which is why I limit them to, why I limit it to 2 pages a day. So Wonder Woman is one of the most iconic papers. There's a rich history that reflects changing cultural and social dynamics in the 20th century, created by William Marston. By the way, if people don't like me reading this and just want me to do the highlights, I'm quite willing to do that. Wonder Woman made her debut in the early 1940s. She quickly became a symbol of female empowerment and feminism. This essay explores the origins of Wonder Woman, her creation by Marston, and his subsequent evolution as a feminist icon. So, um, yeah, why the particular emphasis on how Wonder Woman got her powers back in the 70s? That's actually wrong. There are a few mistakes. She actually got her powers back in like 1968. Again, if I was to publish this paper, some of these things would be changed. And as she evolved into the 80s. So the birth of Wonder Woman. Um, so, um, yes. So Wonder Woman first appeared in 1941, All Star Comics, number 8, created by William Moulton Marston. Marston was a psychologist and feminist theorist who believed in the psychological superiority of women and sought to create a character that would embody this beliefs. So, when I was first doing this paper, I just wanted to do something on Marston because he is a fascinating guy. I mean, as I said here, he was a psychologist and, feminist theorist. He also invented the lie detector. Um, so, and he was like a polygamist. He had like 2 wives. Which they're interesting in their own right. We're going to come to them. But I mean, he was just such an interesting person, and if any of you want to, read about this, there's a book, called. Let me look it up. Wonder Woman. The Secret History of Wonder Woman by Jill Lepore. And this is a book I actually cite later on, but I don't feel there's any reason why I should mention this. And it goes into the backstory of him, and it's a good book. I recommend reading it. Uh, so yes, if you're interested in the subject. So, and I believe All Star Comics. I mean, I'm not, my comic book history is a bit shaky, but that would eventually become or be merged into DC Comics. But that's not what it originally was called, or maybe DC bought it. I'm not exactly sure on history, but nonetheless, what was published in All Star Comics, she would become a DC hero, with particular emphasis on how Wonder Woman got a yes. So if we go back and Wonder Woman really combines feminine tenderness with masculinity and strength. He thinks this decision makes it appealing. Um, wait a minute. Created by William Marston. Marston is a psychologist, feminist theorist, and such to create a character that would embody this belief. His vision for Wonder Woman was rooted in his desire to provide readers, especially young girls, with a powerful role model. And I mean, again, this is important because even today, but especially back, most comics were oriented toward young boys. Now there's a lot more women characters. But if you're thinking about this as a girl, there weren't many comics for you. Um, and so this is really, he says in the subject that Wonder Woman really combines feminine tenderness with masculinity and strength. He thinks this decision will make it appealing to both gender girls and boys. He says at the end of Why 1000 Comics. So that was an article he gave. I believe the the article appeared in an issue of a woman's magazine, and I believe it was called the Family Circle. And basically, and I'll get into this later. There was this whole dispute about sort of why comics should be. So there's the formula in superhero comics. And this is my strength, altruism, and feminine love appeal in one character. That's Marston. He goes on to add that Wonder Woman is a symbol of human progress. And now we have early adventures, feminist themes, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's early adventures chronicled in the self-styled series were characterized by Marston's strong feminist beliefs. She was portrayed as a warrior for justice, equality, and peace. Marston used the character to convey messages of gender equality, love, and the strength of women. Um, and this is like broadly sort of what he supported. I mean, he thought equality between men and women. He thought there should be love. Um, and women should be strong. And now there are some critiques to this. There are feminists who think that Wonder Woman presents in her ideal, she presents a problem in that sort of every woman has to be like a Wonder Woman, a Superwoman. Uh, I don't think that was sort of Marston's intent, by the way. I think um, he was certainly a person of his time, and the issues that were raised by the 70s, the first wave and second wave feminism about later issues. I mean, I don't think we should say to Marston, well, yes, you want every woman to be a superwoman. Which I don't think he did, but it was definitely a different time. So All Star Comics 8 in December 1941, when an American pilot named Steve Rogers first lands onto Paradise Island, the home of the mythical Amazons. thousands of years earlier, the Amazons had been imprisoned in his by Hercules in his quest to accomplish his famous 12 labors. The ninth labor was to capture the girdle of, I'm gonna butcher this name, Hip Hippolyte. Hippolyte. Well, yeah, so that. Queen of the Amazons. I just refer to her as Wonder Woman's mother from now on. Queen of the Amazons. Queen of the Amazons, which she did through trickery and deceit. After the Amazons escaped from Hercules, they quit the aggressive, violent world of men and led by Aphrodite to a hidden island where women would reside. Once there, Queen Hippolyte sculpted a baby god out of clay, which was given life by the gods, and she named her Diana. It was Diana who rescued Steve and took him to the hospital, to the Amazons hospital. Men went about on Paradise Island, and Aphrodite, as Athena, told the queen that Steve had to be returned to America. However, the outside world was at war. Now, it's important to understand when the cultural context of when the Wonder Woman first appeared. Is it was, and I believe I will cover this later, but it's not. Basically, when Steve came up with the idea, I believe it was like 1940. He, uh, the world was at war, right, or going toward war, with Nazi Germany. And so when the first issue appeared in 1942, America was at war with the Nazis. And broadly, a lot of the early Wonder Woman comics just show Wonder Woman beating up a bunch of Nazis, most of whom are women, but there are some exceptions. Um, and so it's important to recognize that Wonder Woman is fundamentally a product of World War II. If World War II had not happened, we probably wouldn't have gotten Wonder Woman, or she'd be very different. However, the outside world was at war, and Steve Rogers carried important military information. The goddess declared that an Amazon warrior must go back to America with him because America, the vast citadel of democracy and of equal rights for women, needs your help. Now, it's important to remember when, so this is in reading that I did for the class. It's important to remember that I wouldn't say that America in the 1940s was the most progressive nation in women's rights. There were probably places like Finland, which gave women the vote in 1912, and maybe New Zealand, which were certainly maybe more progressive than America. I mean, my history on that. But America was definitely, at the time in the 1940s, in terms of women's rights, one of the more progressive nations in the world. Literally, for example, I came across this article in the 19th century, late 19th century, like women would immigrate to America because they thought, they'd have it better than than in Europe. And this was still true in the 1940s. I mean, in many European countries, women didn't even have the right to vote, like France, Spain. I mean, they had the right to vote in Germany, but under the Nazis, so it doesn't really matter. But in America, women did have the right to vote, and um, oh, I might say the Soviet Union might be more progressive as well, but um, and there was a long history of women's rights activism in America, as there were in other countries, but in America, it had achieved notable successes from Seneca Falls to the 18th Amendment, I believe. Could be. Which by the way, we will be covering, hopefully. Um, yes. So to finding out, so when he says women equal rights, nowadays it would be, in America is not one of the most progressive nations in women's rights. Sadly, depending on your opinion. But nonetheless, we're about middle of the rank, I think, in terms of industrialized countries. But if anybody sort of like done a lot of research on America's standing in women's rights in the 21st century, much more than I have, please put them in the comments of the video. Uh, yes, she didn't let Diana enter because this is a competition that Pepperty is sort of putting Diana through, because she didn't want to lose her daughter. But the adventurous Diana disguised herself and entered the tournament anyway. Winning it easily, she became Wonder Woman, donning a star-spangled outfit, which I think has changed, so that she would be recognized as a friend of America. She flew home in her invisible plane. She flew Steve home in her invisible plane, established a secret identity as Diana Prince, Steve's nurse, and was Steve's nurse rated secretary so she could stay close to a charge. According to Tim Henry, by the way, this is in an article which when we come to the like yeah, there's a bullet point section. But he has also done, I mean, he's so there's a book he has on history of Catwoman. Um, not that. Um, yes, it is. The Many Lives of Catwoman, the feminine history of the feline, and it's I have it on Audible. You can get it there. But it's a good book. I'd recommend reading it if you like Batman or Wonder Woman. He's very good. He has another one on Lois Lane. That one is not on Audible. I looked, but you can find a Kindle edition. So, and that one I have not read, so I can't vouch for. But if it's anything like his history of his many lives of Wonder Woman, it's good fun. So yes, this 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 guy is very good. Yes, she first left home in 1929. Marston released Emotions of Normal People, which just which Henry says this was his theory. Disc dominance, endorsement, submission, and compliance. In Disc, he broke down all human relationships, be they parental, educational, romantic, or otherwise, into two binary relationships: active versus passive, and antagonistic versus favored. In an antagonistic relationship, the active participant was dominant, forcing the passive participant into an unpleasant, compliant role. Marston argued that many psychological problems came from these kinds of relationships. In a favorable relationship, the active participant induced the passive participant into pleasant submission. So that, like, I didn't really get into this in the paper, but I'm sure you can find articles on this. Marston's sort of his ideas around bondage, and the number of like many weird sort of things was kind of weird. Like that was his like kinkiness. He got out of bondage of women, despite being a feminist. It's weird. And I would say for that like you know no psychologist worth his or her salt today I think would stand up to uh uh theories of masking today. I think they've been widely disproven. Um, so uh, but they're saying that like we want psychological relationships that are based on equality, not on active passive role. I'm not a psychologist, so that's just an opinion. But I doubt you would find very many psychologists who would sort of support disc. But I mean, it was the 40s, so it was like 80 years. Henry says Marston thought this provided a double dose of pleasantness attached to the process of learning. Harsh dominance led to forced compliance, while kind inducement led to willing submission. Marston claimed that men were more likely to be dominant, while women were more likely to excel at inducement and submission, though they were by no means submissive. Um, so again, more into psychological theories. I don't have a good book on that. Um, like I'm there are several articles you could probably read, but I mean they're interesting if you like it. Women were more loving and selfless. Well, that may be true sometimes. Than men and more willing to happily give themselves to others. But they were also far better suited to inspire this sort of behavior in others. Now, again, as to all of these claims, I don't know if they're true. I'm not going to defend them. I'm just reporting what's in what Tim was saying. Because of this, Marston contended that women as a sex are many times better equipped to assume emotional leadership than men. It is true that I will say this based on what I've said. Women are more emotionally in tune to others than men. Most psychologists would agree to this. Um, there are exceptions, of course, and well, it's generally true. And there are probably many exceptions. Uh, but it is true that women are often more in tune with the emotions of others than men are. And that probably has something to do with them being mothers and rearing children in traditional societies, evolved. But they may have been right about that one thing, at least according to yours truly. As my opinion, women's superior ability to rule was biological. So this goes to his theory. I mean, Marston, after we covered all these things, he really did think that women should rule the world. I mean, so I mean, which like there are different sorts of feminism. There's Marxist feminism. There's radical feminism. There's liberal feminism, and conservative feminism. Um, Marston is definitely in the liberal feminist, but I mean, I think in terms of his idea that women should rule the world, he does grow more toward radical. Um, Women's superior ability to rule was based on biological. And Marston wrote, there isn't love enough in the male organism to run this planet peacefully. um, I don't know about that. I mean, there have been a few um questionable women rulers, but I don't know. Maybe if we all had women leaders, it would be a peaceful world. Uh, I don't know. It's never been tried, so um, maybe. Women's bodies contains twice as many love-generating organs and endocrine mechanisms as the male. Again, that theory would most likely be argued against by modern psychology. The rule of dominant men led to the society to violence and strife. And Marston stated that only when the control of self by others is more present than the unbound assertions of self in human relationship can we hope for a stable, peaceful human society. Females' rule was humanity's best chance for this peace. In contrast to Henry, whose emphasis how the origins of Wonder Woman came from Marston's views on psychology, Jill Lepore uh, emphasizes how Wonder Woman originated from the unorthodox life, love life with Sadie. Sorry about that. I don't usually use immersive reader, so I just didn't know if they count pages. Apparently they do. So this is the section where we get into his polygamous relationships, which I mean I'm not saying here that I support polygamy, but I mean, like in my view, America's a free country, and while I would not argue for a polygamous relationship, because I think fundamentally that monogamy is better. Um, it's a free country, um, and as long as you're treating your partners with respect, you should be able to marry. I know that there will be people who disagree with this, and I sympathize. I mean, I believe in more traditional values. I just don't know the state allowed to enforce its traditional values on other people. Um, so it's a libertarian sort of classical libertarian. Jill Lepore emphasizes how Wonder Woman originated from the unorthodox and polygamous relationships love life with Sadie Elizabeth Hathaway, whose blue eyes and wavy hair serve as the basis for the image of Wonder Woman and always supported him in his endeavors. Um, and even contributed a few conceptual drawings to the first issue of Wonder Woman, as well as occasional drawings to the later comics during the 40s, for which she received no credit, by the way. You have some. And I mean, I could be getting this wrong because I often get these two women confused in the history stories. But in her book, I believe that Sadie Elizabeth Hathaway was actually born on the island of Manx. Um, and she's that might be the other one. I think that's her. And then Marston met her later when he was so she was from Manx, but from I believe they were like an upper middle class family. Uh, and she moved to America, and eventually, I think uh, Marston was lecturing at Harvard at the time, but I mean, I could be wrong. He lectured at various schools, so and they met, and um, he fell in love with her. But only later did he tell us that, in fact, he had another love from his childhood. And if I get these women wrong, I mean, please, if any of you read like the Secret History of Wonder Woman, you're like, you got this wrong on Armor Bonds and Anne Hathaway. You got the characteristics confused, the origins are confused. Please correct me. Feel free to be critical because this was a part of the article that I have I would need to redo if I turn this into a paper. His other lover was Olive Bond, and she came up with the idea for Wonder Woman. She served as his personal secretary and collaborated with him under the assumed name of Oliver Richard on a number of his psychological papers. Both women were essential. So Olive, um, she and Marston were longtime friends, and they'd been friends, I believe, since they were kids. And uh, his papers are held at her former college, the William Marston papers are held at yes, he did go to Harvard. So let me look this up. The Redcliffe Institute. Redcliffe is a women's college. I believe it is the sister college of Harvard. And he was from Harvard. He was an alumni. So and she went to Redcliffe or Radcliffe, and they were friends. They grew up together. Yes. Rapport argues that his inspiration for creating Wonder Woman, such as his love for the ancient Greeks, second only to his love for psychology, and a fascination with ancient Greek myths. Um, so at the time, in like upper class America, there was sort of a craze for things ancient and things Roman, and especially for Greek myths, like fantasy, shared by many feminists at the time, including Margaret Sanger. Uh, the comic book issue number 2, Dr. Poison, according to the poor, provides insight. Well, we actually did a lot more than we on page 5, which is more than I wanted to go. Well, that's that. I suppose. Um, I'm not going to do immersive reader again because of it. Um, But so you get instead of two, you get 5 pages for those of you who love my work. Well, so for those of you who are listening. So let's stop sharing and I hope that those of you who listen enjoy. Um, and if you disagree with me, also feel free. You may dislike me. I imagine just by the nature of feminism, there would be some controversy, which is okay. I mean, I'm not here to say that you have to support feminism. Um, you can hate it. For all I care, it's a free country. I want to have your opinions. Um, as for the polygamous thing, that will also create much controversy. I mean, even today, let alone in the 1940s, polygam polygamy is very controversial. I would say that I would reiterate on that I broadly support monogamous marriage. I think that is the ideal position. However, I don't believe it's the duty of the state to enforce monogamy. Perhaps the state can encourage monogamy, but through education. But it's in the job of the state to enforce their view of marriage onto others. Right. And that so long as the relationship is consensual, and so long as the relationship is not abusive, that is my view. And of course there will be people who disagree, which is fair enough. You're allowed to disagree with my views. Uh, um, yes, but I hope you enjoyed these 5 pages and the beginnings of my paper and learning about the weird psychological theories and William Most.